What it do? Flight crew. We back.
We back.
Just a minute. Oh, man. Oh my god, what is he doing?
You need to fix your camera, boy.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Turn your light on.
This. Oh my gosh, bro, that's terrible. What? You gotta like wipe it? Dude, holy crap. It doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
That's. Alright, we're gonna get into the games. Sorry for delay. Thursday night we had the Jaguars and the Bengals. Jaguars are trash. They lose again, but it was close. It was close.
Jaguars are fucking trash.
Bengals are now 3-1. Justin Burrow, really good game. Jerome Robinson for the Jaguars actually had a pretty good game as well. And Tyler Boyd and Chenault had good games. I need to turn the TV off. That's what's happening. It's losing focus every time the TV flashes. Turn it off. And then we gonna get into the Sunday games. We're gonna start with, I guess we'll just start with the Packers and Steelers. Big Ben was struggling. Randall Cobb playing really good.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger throwing a pick and getting sacked. He has like no mobility, so that's a big disadvantage. Rodgers, I mean, he didn't throw the best percentage-wise, but he had 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. Randall Cobb had a really good game. So did Deontay Johnson for the Steelers. And A.J. Dillon had 81 rushing yards, and Najee Harris had a decent game receiving and running as well. Next game, we got Washington and Falcons. Falcons almost win, but Washington is 2-2. Taylor Heinicke, good game for him. Really good game for Taylor Heinicke. Matt Ryan actually played good as well, but Heinicke played slightly better. Antonio Gibson having a good game rushing-wise, and Cordell Patterson and Terry McLaurin having really good games each. Receiving-wise, McLaurin had 123 and 2 touchdowns, and Cordero had 82 yards and 3 touchdowns, as well as 34 rushing yards, so he had a pretty good day. But it wasn't enough. Bills, Bills and Texans. Bills forced 5 turnovers. Another blowout win. I think that's like 3 in a row where they beat a team by more than like 20, I think. Mills had only 87 yards and he had 4 picks. Oh my goodness. Josh Allen had 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. Singletary had a good game with 79 yards rushing, and Stephon Diggs had 114 yards receiving. That's the first time I've seen him being the leading receiver this year, I feel like. Now we get into the Bears and the Lions.
Bears are fucking trash.
The Bears, I mean, Fields sort of bounced back, but he still couldn't even throw the ball. I mean,
He's a rookie. Give him some time.
They didn't even give him time to throw. I mean,
yeah, our line's fucking trash.
I mean, Goff had a better game than him, but I mean, at least they won.
Didn't he get sacked like 6 fucking times or some shit?
Yeah, I think so.
It's horrible.
Jared Goff had 299 and 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery had 106 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And Darnell Mooney had 125 yards receiving. And Ivan Cephas had 83 yards for the Lions. I have no idea who that is, but pretty good game. Next is Panthers-Cowboys. Zeke and the Cowboys run over one of the best defenses in the league at the moment. Beat them by 8. Dak Prescott didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he had 4 touchdowns. Sam Darnold had an okay game. He did throw 2 picks, but he had 301 for 2 touchdowns. Zeke, 143 yards and a touchdown. Really good game from him. Hubbard for Carolina, not too bad. And DJ Moore had 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's really, really underrated. He's doing really good this year. Amari Cooper had 69 yards through 3 receptions and a touchdown. Yeah. Cowboys are on a pretty good path to have a good season. Colts and Dolphins. Colts get their first win of the season. I mean, the Dolphins are at think Tua is still hurt for them, so they're kind of struggling. I mean,
Tua.
Tua. Wentz had 228 for 2 touchdowns, and Brissett had 199 for 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor with a really good game rushing for the Colts. He had 103 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Parker having a good receiving game for the Dolphins, but it wasn't quite enough. He had 4 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. But, yeah, there's that game. Next is Browns and Vikings, a very low-scoring game, which was pretty unexpected. Browns, I think Stefanski, he's like a really good player they had this year. He got hurt for a couple games. He came back, and they had a really good game defensively. Baker Mayfield didn't really do that good. I feel like Kirk Cousins had the better game with 203 yards and a touchdown. He did throw a pick, but other than that, he had a good game. Dalvin Cook had a pretty bad game, and Nick Chubb had 100 yards rushing. You like that last name?
Chubb. I just fucking died.
Rashard Higgins having a decent game with 63 yards rushing, and Justin Jefferson 84 yards and a touchdown. But that was a really weird game. I don't even know where they got their touchdowns from. Maybe defensively. I don't know. Chubb. Yeah, I don't know how they got their touchdowns, but maybe they didn't even score a touchdown. Bro, what is going on? Bro.
What? Fentanyl 16.
Next, we have the Giants and the Saints getting their first game of the year. A couple teams get their first win of the year. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley lead them offensively to a win. Daniel Jones, 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Really good game for him. Winston actually didn't have a bad game. Just didn't produce enough. 226 yards and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara, really good game, 120 yards rushing. And Kenny Galladay helped the Giants a lot with 116 yards receiving, and Callaway for New Orleans, decent, 74 yards and only 2 catches. But good win for the Giants against a decent Saints team. Next we have Titans and Jets. The Jets are another team that get their first win of the year. Very big upset here. No one expected this to go down this way. I think the Titans kicker missed a field goal, and then the Jets came down and scored. Ryan Tannehill had 298 yards and a touchdown, and Zach Wilson had 297 yards and 2 touchdowns with an interception. Derrick Henry, really good game for him, 157 yards rushing and a touchdown. Wasn't enough. Corey Davis for the Jets, really good receiver, 111 yards for a touchdown, and McNichols with a decent game with 74 yards. Let's see what else we got. We got Chiefs and Eagles. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes throws 5 touchdown passes, and they only won by 12 points. I mean, the Eagles did put up a good effort. Jalen Hurts had 387 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mahomes had 278 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 102 yards rushing. Really good game for him. Man, Tyreek Hill, 186 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, like Randy Moss type of numbers. And Devontae Smith also having a good game with 122 yards receiving. So it was a really good game. Really good passing game for both teams. But Patrick Mahomes slightly got the win. Next we have Cardinals and Rams, the battle of the undefeated teams. Kyler Murray keeps the Cardinals undefeated, beating the Rams by 17 points. Kyler Murray had 268 yards and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception is good, but I feel like it was definitely a down game for him. Edmonds had 120 yards rushing for the Cardinals, and Henderson had 89 yards rushing, so a decent game there running-wise. A.J. Green, solid 67 yards and a touchdown, and Von Jefferson with a breakout game, 6 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Really good game there. Cardinals, I think now that the Raiders lost, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they're the only undefeated team in the NFL. Next, we got Seahawks and Niners. Russell Wilson, pretty solid game for him. Not the best game of football, honestly. I mean, Debo Samuel, incredible. He had 156 of the 165 passing yards, so there's literally one other receiver, I think, which is crazy. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, there was two different passers. He had most of Garoppolo's yards, though. Russell Wilson had 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Garoppolo had 165 yards with a touchdown and a pick. That pick was pretty costly for them. Trey Sermon had a pretty good game rushing for the Niners, 89 yards. Debo Samuel, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of the best receivers in the league. Metcalf had a solid game, 65 yards and a touchdown. Next we got Ravens and Broncos. Ravens knocked the Broncos from the undefeated ranks, beating them by 16. Lamar Jackson had 316 yards and a touchdown. I think the Broncos used 2 different passers. I think they were going with Drew Lock and Bridgewater. Latavius Murray had 59 yards rushing and a touchdown, so that was solid. Gordon had an okay 56 yards. Hollywood Brown, really good game for him, 91 yards receiving off of 4 catches and a touchdown. And Sutton really only putting up 3 receptions and 47 yards, which is a pretty down day for him. And now the Sunday night game, the big storyline, Tom Brady playing against Bill Belichick for the first time in his career. And now Tom Brady wins, and now he has beaten every single NFL team. He's only the 4th quarterback to do that. They only won by 2, so I mean, Patriots defense played pretty good, I would say. Honestly, Mac Jones had a better game than Tom Brady. Tom Brady went 22 for 43, which isn't really that good. 269 yards. Mac Jones 31 for 40, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Leonard Fournette had 91 yards rushing, which was probably the X factor in this game. And Mike Evans had 75 yards receiving, and Myers had 70 yards receiving. It's crazy. The leading rusher for New England was Nelson Aguilar with 4 yards. That was literally, I mean, I guess they passed for pretty much all the game. And James White is hurt for the year, so. Now the final game, the game that just happened about 20 minutes ago, finished. We have the Raiders, the unbeaten Raiders, playing the Chargers, and this is another team that is no longer undefeated. Derek Carr and them just couldn't quite get it going. And really a bad defensive game for the Raiders. Derek Carr, only 196 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and Justin Herbert throwing 222 for 3 touchdowns. Justin Herbert has had a really good Monday Night Football career so far. I think his first game he had like 230 yards and 4 touchdowns, so he's really good on Monday Night Football. Austin Eckler, really good game for him, 117 yards and a touchdown. Receiving wise, Henry Ruggs had 3 receptions for 60 yards, and Jared Cook had a really good game, 6 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. And yeah, that's gonna do it for